Welcome to our maths lesson, and today I want to take you through converting fractions, decimals, and percentages. Fractions, decimals, and percentages. It's not the first time you are coming across this. You have already come across fractions and decimals, which means part of a whole. And percentages here, it is the word percentages comes from the Latin word which means says percentum, which is normally over 100. Now, generally, in real life situation, we keep on using percentages to compare so many things. When you're comparing values, when you're comparing quantities, when you are comparing the scores that maybe you have performed in various subjects out of the total. So it is something that we keep on coming across here every now and then. So today we shall look at the relationship between all these three and how to convert one into the other. But first, what do we need to know, especially when we talk about these percentages and how to go about converting them? So let us first look at this word percentage. The word percentage is represented by the symbol, which looks like that. This symbol simply means percent. And percent comes from the Latin word, which used to mean percentum, which is just to say out of 100. So that is where the origin of percentage came from. So what are we saying when you use this percentage? Now that we know it means out of, or if it means that, if you are told 23%, this symbol means percent. It simply means out of. From the definition, it is a Latin word which meant out of 100, that is percentum. So this is the same as 23 over 100. So 23 over 100 is the same as 23%. And here, we should be able to convert a percentage into a fraction. To convert a percentage into a fraction, you must be able first to write that percentage as to have a numerator and a denominator, where the denominator is out of 100. So we are asked to convert 25%. 25% is the same as 25 out of 100. Because now this is a fraction, simplify to its simplest form, where by 25 1 by 25 4. Therefore, 25% is the same or equivalent to 1 over 4 or a quarter. Also, we should be able to have, we should also be able to convert percentage into decimal. This one was converting percentage into fraction. Here, we are to be able to convert a percentage into decimal. How do we apply this? Let us convert 31%. 31%, first write it as a fraction. This will be 31 over 100. Then from that fraction notation, you convert into decimal. The denominator is 100. Therefore, we move the decimal point to the left. How many steps? 2 steps, because 100 has got 2 zeros. So I'll expect you to have 31, and then we move 1 step, 2 steps, we have a decimal point there. So 31% is the same as 0.31 when expressed in decimal. We should also be able to convert a fraction into a percentage. And to do this, it is very simple. Given any fraction, whatever kind it is, be it proper fraction or improper fraction, to convert into percentage is very simple. You only require to multiply by 100. Multiply by 100. So it doesn't matter what kind of fraction you've been given. It's very simple. You want to have the percentage form of any fraction, multiply by 100. Give me any fraction you know. Talk of any fraction that you know. We want to convert it as a percentage. Yes, let us look at 1 over 5. Yes, 1 over 5. That is a fraction. To convert this into percentage, simply multiply by 100. And you simplify where possible. You can simplify when it is in this manner, or you move ahead and say 100 over 5. 100 over 5 is equivalent to 20%. That is, by 5 here is 1, by 5 here is 20. So a fifth is the same as 20%. What other fraction? Let's try another one. 1 over 8, yes. This is an eighth. To convert into percentage, multiply by 100. So what happens here? Between 100 and 8, what is the highest common factor that exists between the two? You notice that by 4 is 2, and by 4 is 25. 25 and 2 does not have any common factor, so you remain with 25 over 2, right? 25 over 2. This is further simplified into a mixed percentage, which means 1, because of 2 over 1 is 1, then 5 over 2 is 2, and then we can say 12.5%, or 12.5%. So we can convert any fraction into a percentage. Okay, let us look at how to convert a decimal into a percentage, a decimal into a percentage. Now, just as you have seen it happening in fraction, the same happens in decimal. So if you want to get 0.30 and you say convert into percentage, you simply multiply by 100. When you multiply a decimal by 100, which has 2 zeros, the decimal point moves to the right 2 steps. So here we shall move 1 step, 2 steps, we have 30.0. which is simply 30%. Let us try another decimal. .812. That is a decimal. To convert, you simply multiply by what? Multiply by 100. When you multiply by 100, the decimal point will move 1, that is 8.1, and move further to between 1 and 2, that is 81.2. So the answer is 81.2, and you put a percentage sign. That is how we convert fraction decimal into percentage. And you've seen how to convert fraction also into percentage. So in general, this you can, I want you to, in groups you can discuss and tell me what percentage does the following fraction represent of head. What fraction do the following, what percentage do the following fractions represents? We start by 1, which also called a whole, a half. We have a half. 1/2 is also called a half. So we want to see what is the percentage there. We have 1/3. 1/3 is also called a third. We have 1/4, which is called what? Yes. It's called? Good, a quarter. And let us look at this one first. A whole is everything, 1/1. 1/1 times 100 is just 100. So this is a whole. It is equivalent to 100%. A half is simply a half multiplied by 100, which will give us 50/2, 100/2, which is 50. So a half is equivalent to 50%. A third is equivalent to what percentage? It will be a third multiplied by 100, which will be 33.3%. %, or you can also say 33.3%. A quarter is equivalent to a quarter multiplied by 100, which is 100/4, which is 25%. So you see, from the most common fractions we normally come across and we know them, we can state their percentage as it is on the board. So we should be able to change and get any percentage. Convert the following percentages into mixed numerals or fractions and in their simplest form. We are starting the first one as 160%. 160%. So to convert 160%, we express it as a fraction where the denominator is 100, because percentage means out of 100. So we shall have this as 160 over what? Over 100. So when you simplify this one by 10, you get 16 over 10. By 2, we get 8. By 2 down here, we get 5. 5 is an improper fraction, so we simplify it further into mixed numeral, which is the same as 1 and 3 over 5. 1 and 3 over 5. So this one is equivalent to 160%. Now let us look at 12.5%. 12.5% is simply written as 12.5 divided by what? 100. We are not converting into decimals, so let us not bother about counting the zeros. We want the fractions. Now, because the numerator, take note of that, the numerator has got a decimal point. We want to convert everything into fraction. We cannot remain having a decimal up there, and we want to call this a fraction. Therefore, to remove this, because it is one decimal place, we multiply by a power of 10 that has got 1 0, and that will just be 10. So multiply the numerator by 10, multiply the denominator also by 10. So I'm talking of 10 over 10, which is just nothing has changed. So this one becomes 125 over 1,000. When you divide this by 125 is equals to 1, and by 125 is equals to 8. So when converting, always make sure that the numerator is not in decimal format. That's why we remove the decimal by multiplying by 10. Now let us look at the decimals. Now, if we want to convert fractions in decimals from percentages into decimals, how do we approach it? We have seen converting percentage into fractions. Now we want to convert a percentage into decimal. How well are we supposed to approach that? Let us look at the following questions. Convert the following percentages into decimals. First one, we have 723%, and 2, we have 13.45%. Now, as he saw earlier on, that to convert percentage into decimal, first you need to put it in fraction form with the denominator 100, and then you work out by moving the decimal point as per the number of zeros at the bottom here. So for this case, this 723% is the same as 723 over 100. We always use the law and the rule that when you are dividing any number by a power of 10, then you will move a decimal point to the left by the number of zeros that you have. We have 2 zeros, that is for the 100. So when you divide by 100, I expect you to move the decimal point of the 723 to the left. How many steps? 2 steps. So this one will be, when you move 2 steps, you'll stop somewhere there. So it will be 7.23, and that one is our decimal notation of the percentage 723. Coming to the second one, $13.45. First, we bring in the denominator out of 100. We have out of 100, we know where the location of the decimal point, where it is. We are dividing by 100. We shall move to the left how many steps? 2 steps. You have to make sure that they are strictly 2 steps, not from the end. The other one, it was a whole number. That's why we moved from the end. This one, we already have a decimal point. So we go where the decimal point is and start moving to the left 2 steps. So 1, 2. We shall have 0.1345. 1, 3, 4, 5. That is the decimal notation given the percentage 13.45. By now we are very comfortable. Given any fraction, given any percentage, we can convert that percentage into a fraction, or we can convert that percentage into a decimal. Now, I want us to look at it now from a different perspective. Can we be able to now convert the fraction into a percentage? Let us look at question related to conversion of fractions into percentages. Now we have this fractions, and we want to convert them into percentages. We saw that for us to convert, it is very simple. You just take that fraction and multiply by 100. As simple as that. Except when it is a mixed numeral, then convert that mixed numeral into what? Yes, into an improper fraction. Very good. So, here we have the first one is a proper fraction, 3/5. So to convert, we shall do what? Multiply by 100. You multiply by 100. Simplify whenever possible. Remember, the answer is in percentage. So by 5, 1 by 5, 20. Then 20 multiplied by 3, you get it is 60. And this, what is this 60? We want to convert into percentage. Bring the percentage symbol and put it there. So 3/5 is equivalent to 60%. It's equivalent to 60%. Let us now look at 7/40. 7/40 to convert into percentage, multiply by 100. Very good. Multiply by 100. Simplify where possible. 10 and 10 will go, we remain with 4. 10 and 4 have got highest common factor being shared, which is 2. So by 2 is 2, and by 2 up there is 5. 5 multiplied by 7, we shall get 35/2. So we have 35/2. This one here can still be agreed and say this is the percentage. It's still allowed, written in an improper fraction manner. However, you can simply go ahead and write it as, by simplifying that 5, write as mixed numeral. 35/2 is the same as 17 and 1/2%. So this 7/40 is equivalent to 17.5%, or that 5/2%. Okay, let us now look at the fraction part, which has been given in form of a mixed numeral, where we have 2¼ Convert 2 and 1/4 into percentage. Don't take it easy and light and go ahead and multiply by 100. That will be wrong, because this part is still given as a mixed numeral. So we need to convert it first into an improper fraction. So to convert this into improper fraction, it is 2 multiplied by 4, which is 8, plus 1 is 9. And the denominator is what? 4. So 9 over 4 is what we have as our fraction. So to convert, we multiply by 100. Simplify where possible. What is common between 9 and 4 or 104? You find that the factor that is shared between 100 and 4 is 4 itself. So by 4 here is 1, and by 4 here is 25. So we are remaining with 9 multiplied by 25. So when you multiply 9 by 25, you will get 225%. 225%. Therefore, 2 and a quarter is equivalent to 225%. What if the fraction you are given is a fraction which results into a recurring decimal or a repeating decimal, not as terminating decimal the way we've seen? So let us convert this into a percentage. Now when you look at this, it is a very simple fraction, 2 over 3. Now our knowledge should remain very sober that we are not asked to convert this into recurring decimal, but into percentage. So we go ahead and multiply by what? 100. There is nothing to cancel. There is nothing to simplify. So you'll come and say you have 200 over 3. So 203, if you try to simplify and have it as a mixed numeral, you will find that this one will give us 20 by 3 is 6, and then 20 again by 3 is 6. Because of 18, remainder 2 over 3. So what do we have here? We have 66 and 2 over 3%. 66 and 2 over 3%. So we should be able to convert any fraction into what? Into a percentage. Now, let us look at conversion of decimals into percentages. And this one looks even much more interesting and easier, as you will see. Convert the following decimals into percentages. Convert the following decimals into percentages. The first one we have 0.458, and the second one we have 17.5. We are to convert into percentages. And as we saw earlier on, to any conversion from decimal to percentages, we simply multiply by what? 100. .458 multiplied by 100. What happens when you multiply a decimal by 100? Ask your colleague, what happens to the decimal point when you are multiplying a decimal by 100? From your discussion, you should have come up with this, that the decimal point will move to the right how many steps? 2 steps, because of the 2 zeros that make up 100. So we shall move this one 2 steps, which means that when you multiply 0.458 by 100, you'll get it as 45.8%. This is the percentage that represents this particular fraction. For this other one, (17.5) as a decimal, we have to convert 17.5, which is a decimal, we convert it into a percentage. Take note of this. Multiply by 100. Now look at this. When we move to the right one step, we are already at 175. We have to move into a space. That movement means that we shall add a 0 after the last digit, so that we exhaust 2 steps required by this. So this one becomes 1,750%. Therefore, 17.5% is the same as 1,750%. So we should be comfortable to do any conversion of percentage to fractions and decimals, or fractions and decimals into percentages. Now I want us to move to another small part of a subtopic, and this one is called finding a percentage and expressing as a percentage. Finding a percentage and expressing as a percentage. Now, I'll take you back to your life in school. We usually give you an exam, be it a continuous assessment test or a quiz. Maybe a quiz is marked out of 10, out of 40, out of 100. You see? So you'll find that if I ask you what did you score in the morning quiz in mathematics, you say out of 10 I got 8. So you got 8 out of 10. Okay, that's nice. So you are looking at such things. Maybe another one will say, me, I got 6 out of 10. If a quiz was out of 100, we say, and you tell me you got maybe 66 out of what? Out of 100. So that's what I want us to look at. Finding a percentage of what you are scoring, like even in a test, or expressing it as a percentage. So, for us to express one quantity as a percentage of the other, first, we must know, or we must start with the part amount. With the part amount. Now we want to express a certain part of amount, a certain part to the whole amount. For example, if we are talking about water being in a bucket, and the water is full, the bucket is full of water, then we want to say that if you can remove certain portion or certain fraction of water from the bucket, maybe the bucket is about 17 liters, and you remove about 7 liters. So you have removed certain 7 out of the 17. Then I'll ask you, how much water is remaining in the bucket? You'll tell me it is 10 out of 17. So the 10 out of 17 is the amount of water remaining in the bucket. What is its percentage? That is now when you say part amount, this 10 is what is remaining. But what was the total amount? Was 17. So to convert to express one quantity as a percentage of the other, we first write a part amount as the numerator and the total amount as what? The denominator. I give you a test out of 15. So the whole, if you score everything in that test, that is the whole amount, you'll have scored 15. but you only manage to get little part of it. That is now what you're telling that it is part of it. We give that part as the numerator. Then, if you happen to do this, anywhere you have the numerator and the denominator is already in the form of a over b, and therefore, this is a fraction. And if it is a fraction, now the normal procedure of converting a fraction into a percentage follows. So we have written part amount as the numerator, we have written whole amount as the denominator, therefore we go ahead and say, because it has formed a fraction, what method do we use to convert the fraction into percentage? So we shall multiply whatever we have by 100. Let us take, for example, Mark scores 14 out of 20 in a test. What percentage is this? What percentage is this? So part of the total, part of the whole is the numerator, which is what? 14. What is our denominator from this? Which is the whole? It's 20. Is this a fraction? Yes. So how do we convert fraction into percentage? We multiply by 100. By 20 is 1. By 20 is 5. 5 multiplied by 14, you will get 70%. So a test that you scored 14 out of 20. You see, when I tell you have scored 14 out of 20, even some of you will not feel the impact. You will feel like that test was so low, you know, you're not proud of your marks. But if I tell you you scored 70%, you feel some weight. You feel like, yes, I've tried. Because a percentage is an easier way of carrying out comparison. So your performance, when we measure it as a percentage, you'll always feel nice because you are saying, I want to be above 70%. So 14 over 20 is simple fraction, but as a percentage, it is equivalent to 70%. If you don't want to use this method to convert, then we just look at 14 over 20 and ask ourselves, how do we make the denominator to be 100? Not any other. For percentage, the denominator must remain 100. And we just read it. So, we want to make the denominator 100. What shall we multiply 20 with? You'll find is what? By 5. What happens to the denominator also happens to the numerator. So 20 by 5 is 100. And 14 by 5 is 70. Any fraction with the denominator as 100 is already, the numerator is already giving us what the percentage is. So if the denominator is 100, definitely 70 represents our percentage, which is 70%. To find a certain percentage of quantity, again, there are some steps, about 4, that we need to observe. To find a certain percentage, a certain percentage of quantity. to find a certain percentage of quantity, first we shall require to express the required percentage as a fraction. We shall be required to express the required percentage as a fraction. What are we saying? For example, if they tell us 20% of 80, 20% of 80. So we are saying express the required percentage as a fraction, 20% of 80. Then the 20% will be expressed as a fraction, which is 20 over 100. And then they said of what? Of 80. 20%, we have shown it as a fraction. But 20% of what? Of 80. So, change of, the word of here, change it into a multiplication sign. The word of, first convert percentage into fraction, then the word of, make it what? A fraction, multiplication by, say, instead of writing 20 over 100 of, we now write times. So 20% of 80 is 20 over 100, then of is what? Multiplication. Yes, here we are. What will follow? We follow the rules of conversion. As simple as that. So here, we simplify this. We further multiply by simplifying. So you notice that on the fraction part, on the first percentage part which you have expressed as a fraction, can you write it in its simplest form? So by 20 is 1, by 20 is 5. So this is the same as 1 over 5 multiplied by 80. So you can simplify by 5, 1 by 5 here will give us 16. So, when we are talking of 20% of 80, whatever it was, the 20% of 80 is equivalent to just the 16. If it was a certain quantity, then it will be 16 units. So that is how we can get a certain, we can find a certain percentage of a quantity. Express each of the following as a percentage. 34 out of 40 and 13 out of 30. Express this statement as a percentage. We shall observe the rules that we have just gone through in this lesson, that if we are expressing a certain a quantity, part of a quantity out of the whole, we first take part of a whole to be our numerator. So 34 out of 40, 34 is part of the 40, so that will form our numerator. Our denominator will be formed by the whole, which is the 40 itself. That is a fraction already, and then you multiply by 100. Simplify where possible. By 10, we can have 4 and 10. By 2 is 2. By 2 up here is 17. Then we can simplify further. By 2 is 1, and by 2 is 5. So we have 17 times 5. When you multiply 17 by 5, you will get 85. And we were saying converting to percentage, you must have the percentage sign to show that what you have is a percentage. Therefore, when you look at 34 out of 40, in percentage you'll be looking at 85%. 34 represents 85% of the 40. For the second part, (13 out of 30). What is the part of the whole? Part of the whole is part of the 30. And part of the 30 is what? 13. So what is our numerator in this case? 13. And the denominator is the whole, which is 30. And then what happens? You will multiply this by 100. That's how to convert a fraction into percentage. So multiply this by 100, simplifying where possible. So when you do this, you'll find it will give us 130 over 3, which is the same as 43 1/3. 43 1/3%. So 13 out of 30 is simply equivalent to 43%. It is very important we should be able to compare, especially performance, as a percentage, so that if we are raising even a pass mark, if I tell you if you don't score above 40% in my test, then you will not be promoted. And then I gave you a test out of 70. You should not say, I've scored maybe something like 39, so I'm not going to be promoted. No, convert it to percentage first and see what is its equivalent as a percentage. So this issue of converting part of a whole as a percentage is very, very important, especially when it comes to scoring in your tests. Express 60 cents as a percentage of $5. Now, this one is very interesting. I'll start by taking you back. How many cents makes $1? That's where we start from. And then how many cents will make $5? Because for us to be able to work out and convert what we want into percentages, the units must be the same. If it's about measurements, if we have centimeters, the denominator should also be centimeters. If it's about dollars, if we have cents up there, also the denominator should be cents. You cannot tell me and say part of the whole is 60 cents and the whole of the denominator is $5. This is wrong. Convert $5 into cents. If if 100 cents is equivalent to $1, how about $5? It will be 5 multiplied by 100, which is 500. Therefore, we have 60 in cents. We have the $5 now also written in cents. So what follows? 60 over 500 multiplied by 100 will give us the percentage we are looking for. And when you look at this, 10 goes there like that by 6 and 10, 50. 10 also goes there. You remain with 5. By 5 is 1. By 5 is 2. So you're getting 6 times 2 is 12%. Therefore, 60 cents as part of $5 is equivalent to 12%. So 60 cents forms 12% of the $5. That's what this statement is trying to tell us. Let us look at a similar one. Remember, I've categorically stated that the units must be the same. And that's why there was need to convert the $5 into cents. So other units also, the same rule applies. Let us look at this. Here we are. 2 kilometers as a percentage of 800 meters. Convert. Now, before we start for the other one, because the numerator was in cents, we converted the denominator into cents. But now look at this one. Someone will say, let us do it like that. Part of it here is 2 kilometers. Of the whole, a meter is already less. It's smaller than a kilometer. But if you are to use that, you cannot say over 800 because this is kilometers, this is meters. Are they the same? Definitely not. So what happens? We want them to be the same units. You go ahead and say, okay, it is 2 kilometers over 0.8. We know how to convert. And if you are converting, 0.8 is equivalent to what? 0.8 is equivalent to 800 meters. But now, the denominator is a fraction. While we are studying fractions, we said we cannot have the denominator as a fraction. We should be able to remove that what? That fraction. So that decimal of the denominator. So this one we can work out from this method, but it will look a bit long. Let's see. If we choose to convert everything into kilometers, so it will be 2 of the 0.8. Remove the denominator, we'll put a decimal point there. So we multiply here by 10, multiply here by 10. It will form 20 over what? 20 over 8. What is 20 over 8 when you simplify? 20 over 8 is the same by 4 is 2, by 4 is 5. It is 5 over 2%, or 2.5%. Sorry, let's look at it. Let us convert it first. When you are converting this, we said we have kilometer and we have meters below. These two are not in the same unit. We need to have them as the same unit. That is what is very, very important. So, in this case, what happens is we convert it will be 2 kilometers over 0.8. Because the denominator is a decimal point, we multiply both sides by 10, and when you do that, you'll have 20 over 8. Now, 20 over 8 is a fraction which we want to convert into a percentage. To convert a fraction 20 over 8 into a percentage, we multiply by 100. So when you do that, you find that this is the same as 2,000 over 8. And 2,000 over 8, when you simplify by 8, it is 250%. 250%. So what am I saying? I'm trying to say that when you are converting a unit as a percentage of another unit, make sure that those two units are in the same form. So the moment you make the units in the same form, you go ahead and you find you have a fraction. Take that fraction now, multiply by 100, and there you are. So we should be able to convert any of the units, be it in dollars and so on, into percentage. Now, what if we have a percentage and we want to find the quantity that we have? Let us look at the last working and see what percentage it forms given that you have a percentage of certain units. Find 25% of 128. As we said earlier on, this is straightforward. 25% of 128. The first part, express the percentage as a fraction. Second, we say simplify that fraction. So we are talking of 25 of 128. Simplify this fraction that we have. So by 25, 1 by 25, 4. Change the off sign to be a multiplication. So that is what we have. So when you work out this, you'll find that by 4 is 1, and 128 by 4, you get it is 32. So you can simply also be able to get percentage of a quantity when you are given. By now, you should be able to handle any question on percentages and convert whatever you have, a decimal, a fraction, into percentage, and the other way around. That is it for now. Thank you.